Hey, so this week Liam Gallagher has announced his Definitely Maybe tour to celebrate the what is it, would be 30th anniversary, I think, of its release. And this got me thinking back to the sort of Britpop, or what was termed the Britpop era, and do we think that Oasis were the best band looking back on reflection? Now I'm going to break this down into just 4 bands from the period, what are sort of more popularly put forward as the more Britpop bands, but there are others around, so feel free to comment if you think I've left any out. I'm going to be talking about a bit here: Oasis, Blur, Suede and Pulp. Now of course, yeah, you might think I've missed out maybe Republica or Sleeper, Radiohead as well, but they're sort of their own genre, so I'm not going to, in my opinion anyway, almost, so I won't include them in the breakdown here. But who was the best Britpop band? So Oasis had, for me, the catchiest, most hummable melodies, and they really did that euphoric, soaring melody tune that you could sing and sing along to. I mean, Don't Look Back in Anger, Live Forever, Supersonic, and even on their sort of later albums that were sort of not necessarily, well, not necessarily, maybe they were popular, like Stand By Me off the Be Here Now album. Even though that album sold loads, broke all sorts of records, on reflection, it's regarded as not particularly one of Oasis's best albums, and a bit of a letdown after all the hype around it. But yeah, so as I was saying, you got other songs as well later on in Oasis catalogue that just Noel Gallagher knew how to write those melodies. So that's, I think, Oasis' strength, and also that one of their things that worked possibly for them, possibly against, was that most of their songs sounded quite similar. So we'll come to that back in a moment, because Blur, the second band I'm going to talk about, for me, Graham Coxon in particular, who wrote, I think, most of the music, if not all of it, was nothing short of a musical genius, purely for the fact that I can't think of any 2 Blur songs that sound the same or even similar, and that's down to, for me, the genius of the band. And I think that comes from Graham Coxon, so I understand, as the main music writer, the composer in that band. So that's, for me, definitely Blur's strength, and what sets them apart from everyone else in that time, of the British bands at least, in Britpop. So then my third band I'm going to talk about is Pulp. Now, I don't think Pulp really would class themselves as a Britpop band, and so I understand that's the case. But unfortunately, they kind of get lumped in because they were quite popular around that time, and they were a British band. And I know they started a bit before the Britpop, and that they weren't really that poppy. They really did. I mean, I can only really think of 2 or 3 songs of theirs, Disco 2000 and Common People, and 1 or 2 others maybe, that are really pop rock songs, popular rock songs, and got that sort of classic sing-along hummable tune to it. But what for me sticks out with Pulp's songs is that they're very well written stories for me. Talking just, I say I've only got time to talk about a couple, but Common People, just that, what that song is about, talking about, she came from Greece and had a thirst for knowledge. She studied, what was it, sculpture at St Martin's College. I mean, it's just genius. It's genius for songwriting. And obviously Jarvis Cocker had that wit and way with words and storytelling, really getting into the nitty gritty of what people are about and what journeys people go through in their lives, and the real, just that detail that he has is genius, I think. So that's what Pulp brings to the party, really, in terms of Britpop. The last band, Suede, for me, and again, I don't think they would ever be comfortable being termed being lumped in with the other Britpop. When you think of Britpop as Oasis versus Blur and a few other things around that, but yeah, Suede, for me, they did, Brett's lyrics are very gritty and realistic, and they really personified for me the sex, drugs and rock and roll. That is what I think that band Suede and Brett's lyrics are all about, and their music. And again, you know, I think they're on the more alternative side of the Britpop scene, and obviously would be not so keen to be termed as a Britpop band, but you know, a couple of their songs are a bit more poppy, like Trash, for example, is the big one from them that did very well in the charts, I believe. And also The Beautiful Ones, I love that riff off there, the introduction riff, and obviously it carries on later in the song. So yeah, so that's what I think, you know. So, you know, who is the best Britpop band? For me, it depends what you're after in a band, and it depends what type of music you like. My band growing up was Oasis, you know, because they were big. I think the What's the Story, Morning Glory album just coincided for me in a time in my life when I was just discovering rock music and guitar music, listening to my brother's albums that he was bringing home, and he'd started going to the festivals, and I was listening to some of his stuff that he was bringing home, and I was just really getting into that kind of music. And yeah, that album, I mean, I bought the sheet music and played it on the piano because I loved it so much, that album, What's the Story, Morning Glory. So, you know, at the time, my favourite band was Oasis, and I will always stay loyal to them on that front. But over time, I think I've come to, as a songwriter now, see, a few years later, many years later for me, I'm appreciating more Pulp as a band, and they're just the pure storytelling element that they're doing. As a songwriter, I think Jarvis Cocker is the best of the songwriters out of that four, I would say. Personal opinion, what is your thoughts on it? You know, do you have a favourite band from that era? Am I talking sense? Am I talking complete garbage? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to know what you think. Who do you think was the best Britpop band from the UK? Yeah, love to hear. Cheers, Ryan.